President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK that will reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
More dangerous than anybody there. She's just underrated and plays a dumb ginger card. I don't know what I'm doing. But Fergie, you better watch out for Fergie. I mean, Sarah was...
Finally, NT confirms big bombshells that we all kind of knew. Meghan yachting ways, Meghan's client.
One Colin Jost joke did what years of royal headlines never managed. It cracked the whole polished image wide open, and Meghan couldn't hide it for a second.
Jeffrey Epstein, we know that he was a very, very clever man, and he didn't like to show himself a lot. In fact, there are very far and few pictures taken of him.
The man walked on that stage with calm energy, but you could feel he'd been waiting to let this one fly. Meghan thought that little trade deal dig was as far as he'd go, but she seriously misread the room. The second Jost realized nobody was storming out, he turned the dial up like a pro who finally got the green light he'd been denied for too long. His whole delivery slowed down, went razor sharp, and dropped that goofy SNL vibe for something colder, cleaner, way more dangerous. Then he slid right into Harry's infamous moment from Spare, the one where he confused the Queen's aide for a servant.
Even placed Meghan at that yacht in Thailand in 2002, but said that it's too bad that there's no pictures of it, and then you posted a blind item about...
Jost barely even touched it. He just let the absurdity breathe. He paused, let the crowd sit in it, let the tension stretch out, and then dropped the next line with the precision of someone slicing through a myth everyone was too scared to question. The audience didn't know whether to crack up or look away, and that confusion gave him even more power.
You see a lot of pictures of people. He used to take pictures of people in his yacht, but he didn't get any pictures of himself. It was always getting pictures of other people.
That mix of laughter and shock, that uneasy space, it made every word hit harder. And the wild part is this. He wasn't even aiming at Harry like that. His real target was the fantasy the Sussex brand kept pushing, the curated struggle, the dramatic confessions, the look at us narrative crafted to stay in the spotlight. Jost wasn't just joking, he was peeling back a story Meghan had been selling for years. Then Colin dropped the line that made even longtime SNL fans sit straight up in their seats, the one that danced right on the edge without crossing into anything messy about minors, but still hit with enough heat to make the whole studio freeze for a second. It wasn't just bold, it was calculated, the kind of line built to shake the room and make sure nobody missed the message.
It's between Meghan and Epstein. And there's a particular girl that Meghan Markle was on a yacht with. That was one of the...
This wasn't a regular joke, it was a signal. It showed that America had officially stopped handling Meghan with soft gloves, and SNL was the first big platform to say it out loud. What Meghan didn't expect, or maybe didn't want to admit, was how fast one televised moment could crack open a vault she assumed was locked forever. The second Colin segment flooded social media. The vibe online changed instantly.
In situations, and once they were there, that's how he got around. This is the kind of individual this man was. That's how he got around. So many have said...
What started as humor turned into fuel for discussion, and the laugh track didn't stay a laugh track for long. People didn't just chuckle, they remembered. And what they remembered most were the whispers that had followed Meghan for years. Meghan had spent most of her adult life dodging those yacht rumors that Hollywood insiders always talked about. They weren't new, they weren't fresh. They'd been floating around forever, brushed off by some, whispered about by others, and ignored publicly by Meghan every single time.
I'm borrowing money, and yet, try hard as I might, I haven't been able to find a public, listen to what I'm saying, a public...
The thing that made them so sticky was that they lived in that murky space where denial feels too rehearsed and confirmation is never coming. SNL didn't even mention yachts, not once. It didn't need to. The internet connected dots at lightning speed, way faster than any PR team could delete or reframe anything. Jokes about Meghan's image and her perfectly crafted rise started acting like keys, unlocking old threads, old blogs, old forums where people once swapped stories about glamorous summers on Mediterranean waters and the wealthy circles she supposedly moved in.
Jeffrey and Sarah, in spite of the fact that I am sure they have taken pictures with themselves all along. There's very few, because these people know how to cover their tracks. Make no mistake.
Suddenly, hashtags Meghan hoped were gone quietly began crawling back. Old screenshots resurfaced. Former Hollywood assistants, extras, background workers started jumping into comment sections saying things like, I always heard stories, or I'm not surprised. And that alone was enough to spark a storm. This wasn't about proof, it was about possibility. And possibility is the most explosive currency the internet has ever had.
The way she speaks about Fergie and Eugenie and Beatrice, it's because they were around for a long time together.
Meghan recognized the pattern instantly. She'd seen other women's reputations crumble off pure speculation, and for the first time, she realized those old rumors weren't staying politely in the past anymore. They were walking right back into the present, uninvited and loud. But the real chaos didn't hit until 48 hours after the SNL moment, when the internet suddenly erupted with a new wave of vintage yacht photos. No outlet published them, no creator took credit.
No mistake about that. And Fergie is a person that also was called to be a witness, along with the last person I'm going to show you later on, guys. But Fergie is...
They just appeared in the algorithm like someone tossed a digital grenade. Sunlit decks, big sunglasses, designer swimsuits, glamorous poses, every frame looking like luxury on display. And in the middle of those photos was a woman whose resemblance to Meghan was close enough to light the match. Were they real, fake, edited, a lookalike? Nobody cared. Accuracy wasn't the hook, the aesthetic was. And the contrast was brutal. The Meghan who gave polished empowerment talks was being placed side by side with a mysterious woman lounging on a billionaire's yacht with a champagne-ready smile.
Imagination, I think he's a dirty old perv weasel, but I do believe he's just as much of an idiot as Prince Harry is. And Sarah Ferguson is that Fergie woman is as cunning and as deviant and as skanky as Rachel Meghan Markle. Okay? She just was lucky that when she was doing all her skankiness, the internet was not around.
And the internet ran wild with it instantly. When old quotes started popping back up online, the ones where people hinted that Meghan might have crossed paths with certain powerful circles back in the day, the whole situation shifted from spicy gossip to straight radioactive territory. For Meghan, this wasn't regular rumor control anymore. This was turn off your PR phone, close the blinds, and pray your legal team didn't fall asleep. Her team didn't drop a statement, didn't push a denial, didn't even throw out a half-baked distraction piece, they just froze. Not the cool, strategic silence celebs use when they've got a plan, but the stunned kind, the kind that says even they didn't know how to spin it because at this point...
It's just videos. I mean, we know that video, and I can't show most of the things that I'm talking about. I can't show you the pictures, but please do Google, and I will leave the links at the bottom of the video for you to, because if I show them, they're copyrighted.
The truth didn't matter anymore. The internet had already picked a storyline, and once that happens, it's game over. The second those photos hit the algorithm, the internet morphed into a giant DIY investigation lab run by people who proudly spend 10 hours zooming into pixels with zero hesitation. Reddit threads exploded within hours, each one filled with keyboard detectives breaking down jewelry shapes, sunglasses reflections, and every shadow on the deck like they were cracking a national case.
For you to go, please check this out, okay? And I will leave you the link to the video of Sarah Ferguson getting caught.
Some users matched hats, others compared wrist sizes, and one person even made a full side-by-side jawline chart with the dedication of someone trying to get a promotion in imaginary internet CSI. TikTok creators stitched theories into mini-movies, and those mini-movies turned into entire timelines. YouTube commentators dropped 20-minute breakdowns linking yachts to Hollywood parties to elite circles to names no PR manager ever wants trending next to their client.
That it was this guy who used to do these setups. The only reason why this guy was able to do the setup is because it wasn't.
Meanwhile, traditional media stayed unusually quiet, not out of loyalty to Meghan, but because anything involving big names, wealthy social scenes, and mysterious photos sends newsroom lawyers into panic mode. But online creators? They don't have legal departments, they have followers, and followers reward boldness every single time. The silence from mainstream outlets didn't calm anything down, it made it worse. People assumed the quiet was on purpose, like someone was trying to hide something.
For large amounts of cash, selling access to Andrew, who was the trade ambassador. He was the trade ambassador to the United Kingdom, and the records have been sealed.
And that turned the whole situation into a narrative Meghan could no longer outrun. A narrative that felt way bigger than her, louder than her team, and messy enough to make the internet lose its mind all over again. By the end of the week, Meghan's polished, empowered Duchess persona wasn't the image the algorithm was serving anymore. It had been swapped out for something way messier, a version of her the internet painted without asking for permission. The scariest part for Meghan was realizing she wasn't steering the story anymore. The internet had grabbed the wheel, and it wasn't interested in giving it back.
That was a post paid with taxpayers' money. What does this picture have to do with this? We know that there were tweets.
The shift didn't slam down in one moment. It slid in slowly, like fog rolling over a coastline. Quiet at first, barely noticeable, until suddenly it was everywhere and impossible to ignore. Once the internet locked its full attention on Meghan, the cracks in her brand stood out loud as day, and people started seeing things they once overlooked. For years, she pulled off a perfect balance between Hollywood shine and royal sophistication, a look clean enough for magazine covers but flexible enough to sell to any audience. But when the rumors started spreading fast, people didn't just argue about what was true. They started examining her whole presentation.
Was available for that weekend to go to Croatia and everything else. You're wondering who is this person in this picture and why these two individuals are there.
Every glamorous charity photo suddenly looked staged. Every podcast moment felt like someone performing vulnerability instead of living it. Every intense lighting choice and dramatic camera angle in her documentaries now felt like production tricks instead of emotion. Commentators started using one phrase that terrifies every PR team on the planet: the illusion collapse. And as harsh as it sounded, people thought it fit. When your brand is built on authenticity, the second the audience doubts your openness, the entire structure starts shaking. Fans who once defended her felt unsure.
The man himself, Jeffrey, she was his last girlfriend. Okay. Now she's from Romania.
Critics who used to get ignored suddenly sounded like they had a point. Analysts dug up old videos, compared timelines, highlighted mixed messages, and the internet turned into a massive open file investigation into her persona instead of her actions. What made it worse was the growing suspicion that Meghan's rebrand as a polished humanitarian and sophisticated duchess looked less like natural growth and more like a long-term strategy. And the second the audience smells strategy, the magic is gone and everything feels staged. Inside the walls of her home, the vibe changed fast.
How to view her, what to think of her, and who she is now. She's always, every single interview, every single time she's being asked any questions or has a microphone or a platform or making a post even.
The calm elegance disappeared and was replaced with full-blown coordination mode, with insiders saying it felt less like a celebrity household and more like a crisis command center. Meghan, who was always the engine behind every project, reportedly pulled back almost overnight, shocking everybody around her. No more Zoom cameos, no more voice notes guiding her team, no more perfectly staged accidental pap walks arranged to keep her image warm. She retreated inward, creating a vacuum her staff scrambled to fill like they were trying to patch a sinking ship with tape.
It's all about telling us that she's authentic and telling us that she's a Dodgers fan and telling us that she organically shows up.
The PR team started spinning in circles, writing statements they never released and building strategies they never used. Meetings turned into arguments about timing, tone, and who should speak first. And every hour, another wave of online chatter hit them, another rumor picking up speed, another theory gaining views. Her silence didn't calm anything. It added gasoline to everything already burning. Harry tried to keep his routine going, morning workouts, quick errands, a few low-key visits with friends, but people close to him noticed the pressure building. His jokes got shorter, his patience thinner. He moved like someone who felt a big storm creeping closer, but couldn't figure out how to stop it.
Being told what to think. Nobody likes being told how to view somebody. We like to decide that for ourselves. But at the time I was talking about how, Catherine, Princess of Wales, is the one who shows us and doesn't tell us, and Meghan is the one who tells us and doesn't show us. So Meghan...
Inside the house, whispers started spreading fast. Assistants who were usually chill began trading nervous looks. Publicists kept fighting over whether to speak or stay quiet. Lawyers hovered around the edges of conversations like warning signs. Someone allegedly dropped the line that became the household's unofficial truth. They thought silence was strength. Now it's starting to look like surrender. That line hit everybody, because Montecito wasn't peaceful anymore. It was tense, and every minute of silence felt like losing another chunk of the narrative.
Show, not tell. But that's false. She tells us everything, and she shows us absolutely nothing.
The situation had gone way past jokes or old photos or trending headlines. It turned into something way deeper, a question of identity. And that's the kind of shift celebrities almost never bounce back from. The internet stopped debating what Meghan did or didn't do. It started debating who she really was. And that kind of conversation spreads like wildfire online.
Part of this phrase has stuck with so many people and had them thinking about it like it's a riddle, because I have still gotten so many comments about this nonsense phrase, this word salad phrase.
For years, Meghan thrived because she could reinvent herself whenever she needed to. Cable actress to royal figure to global humanitarian, Hollywood hopeful to multi-million-dollar brand leader, reinvention was her strongest skill. But reinvention only works when people believe the transformation is real. Now the audience wasn't believing it, they were tearing it apart. Old interviews resurfaced with people analyzing every micro-expression. Charitable moments were side-eyed like they were strategic instead of sincere. Every public appearance became something to compare, review, and break down frame by frame. Meghan wasn't being watched anymore. She was being studied, and that shift made the whole situation feel explosive.
Huge cognitive dissonance to how she actually operates in the world that she would even say such a thing. But it's not just because it was so ridiculous and something a narcissist would totally say.
People began replaying old clips, comparing how Meghan stood back then to how she carries herself now, what she said years ago versus what she says today, and the differences hit way harder than she expected. That's the danger of being a public figure. The audience doesn't just watch the character, they build the character, and whether you like it or not, their version becomes the one that sticks.
But it's also the fact that part of the imagery of this phrase of anchor into your own knowing or anchoring into anything.
People don't follow royalty anymore. They follow stories, and once Meghan's story started feeling crafted instead of honest, the whole illusion she relied on began slipping apart. She wasn't judged as a duchess or an actress anymore. She was judged like a brand, and once a brand loses trust, it slides out of your hands fast. When that happens, even the truth struggles to stay alive. For years, Meghan believed she'd taken the power back from Hollywood, from the palace, from the press.
Own knowing, rather than just like anchor to the truth and the reality that we all live in. Instead, Meghan's like, no, whatever it is that you're thinking and you're believing and you're selling and your vision.
She shaped her image through documentaries, interviews, big photo shoots, and all the curated content she controlled from start to finish. She and Harry built a whole narrative machine designed to show the world what they wanted seen and block out everything else. But the internet doesn't follow palace etiquette or Hollywood marketing. Overnight, the control she fought so hard for evaporated. One slip was all it took.
To anchor into is your own version of events and your own knowing, and you need to be anchored to that. And I think it kind of has made me start to think that it's maybe more of, I don't know, that like a slip.
The public wasn't asking questions anymore. They were deciding the answers. And worse, they were deciding what kind of woman they thought she truly was. That's a different kind of pressure. The kind you can't manage with lighting, soft music, or polished edits. Meghan wasn't just losing control of her story. She was losing ownership of her identity. Millions of strangers were connecting dots she never addressed, rebuilding her past in real time, and telling a version of her journey she couldn't rewrite, reshape, or silence.
Like Meghan has tied herself inextricably.
For a public figure, that's the deepest kind of panic, not scandal, but becoming irrelevant to your own narrative. When people start defining your image for you, your intentions stop mattering. No live stream, no interview, no photo shoot could fix the gap between who she said she was and who the crowd believed she was now. Documentaries couldn't save it. Even the carefully lit white shirt shots with her soft, serious gaze couldn't soften the blow. Authenticity had become the one thing she couldn't convincingly sell anymore, no matter how polished the storytelling looked.
And an alternate reality through her lies and her fabrications. Ever since she fixed her sights on wooing Harry, she's been wrapped up in her own farce.
Her once powerful, articulate public persona now seemed fragile, almost synthetic. And every moment she stayed quiet, people filled the silence with their own theories. There's no recovery plan for an identity collapse when the audience thinks they know the real you better than you do.
Track record of philanthropy work that wasn't actually philanthropy at all. Selling a version of herself to Harold that made him think that she would be just like Catherine. Then Meghan's victim narratives.
And just as Meghan's digital world was burning in California, another kind of storm exploded across the ocean, something that had nothing to do with jokes or gossip and everything to do with palace pressure and buried decisions that could flip the Sussex story upside down. Word leaked from London that a senior royal had boarded a flight under unusual circumstances, not for a scheduled event, not for a planned appearance, but something sudden, discreet, and seriously unsettling. Royal watchers started throwing out theories fast, some pointing toward Andrew, others whispering about quiet internal checks happening behind palace walls, and a few mentioning sealed documents tied to circles Meghan would rather never hear about again.
And Netflix to manipulate her way into contracts and deals, selling concepts that she had no ability to deliver on. All this while having to stand by all the lies that she told.
The timing could not have been worse, and everybody felt it. Inside the palace, the moves being made didn't look like routine protocol. They looked like preparation, the kind that happens when people know something big might be coming but can't say a word publicly.
she told to Harry she has to stand by. And that's, I mean, a lot of people have theorized ever since she didn't invite any family members except Doria to the wedding is that Meghan has sold Harry.
Insiders claimed there were talks about revisiting records, old lists, and names that had been kept far from headlines for years. Online discussions kept circling back to one thing: Meghan's name floating way too close to conversations she prayed would stay buried forever. It wasn't the SNL jokes or the yacht photos or even the internet tearing apart her image. This was the real nightmare. The one she didn't want to admit existed. Because when the palace and the public start asking the same question, who is she really? There's nowhere left to hide. You can outlast gossip, you can outlast a controversy, but you can't outlast the moment the world stops believing the story you're selling. This chapter wasn't the ending, it was a warning shot, the kind that tells you bigger waves are coming and nobody's going to shield you from them. If you want the next chapter and the full breakdown of what comes next, hit like, drop a comment, and make sure you subscribe for more wild celebrity drama.